My little girl is of mixed race, and one of her best friends is from Kenya, 7 years old. So I spent a lot of time with them and talking to them about race and how things are. And it really hurt me when the little girl told me that many kids in her class has told her they don't want to play with her because she's dark. Just 7 years old.
Hello everybody, it's Ifiwana here. Welcome to another episode of Wake Up Concepts. Today I'm here with somebody I think you guys are going to find deeply fascinating. Chris Jackson.
Yes.
Chris,
thanks for the introduction.
Welcome to the show, my friend.
Glad to be here, brother. Glad to be here.
Good. Of course. So before we sort of dive deep into today's conversation, which is largely focused on issues around race, and of course your experiences living in Finland. Could you tell us just a quick synopsis of who you are and your background?
Okay. I don't know about quick, but I can try to explain who I am and what I'm about. First and foremost, I'm a father. I have a 7-year-old beautiful daughter named Valentina. So everything that we're speaking about today directly affects her, and that's the reason why we're speaking, to make things better in the future. But I am from Chicago, the U.S. My professional background is in many different areas. I'm a member of the Scandinavian Hunks dance group. So we travel around Finland and do dance shows. But I'm also, in my professional life, I work in digital management consulting, particularly with mergers and acquisitions. So I have been able to experience things from both perspectives. And given that, I'm still doing some personal training as well. So I'm in many different areas. I've experienced life in Finland, life in the US, with business trips throughout Europe, etc. So hopefully I can be able to provide some dialogue into what we're speaking about today with some actual, real, tangible life experience, because I've experienced it,
How did you end up in Finland in the first place?
Oh man, that's a good question. Well, would you believe me if I said it was because of the nice weather?
Of course.
Probably not. Well, no, it wasn't because of the nice weather, but we are having a nice day today, and as of recent. But it's a mixture of things. It was business opportunity. I've led a few companies here get into more advanced markets like the UK and the US. But it was also a little bit of love. I met my ex, which is a Finn, just by holding the door for her, and she was so impressed that someone held the door for her, and it sparked conversation. Oh, where are you from? Finland. Oh, and one thing led to another. So it was a mixture of a few things that brought me here to Finland, mainly business and working with companies and getting them into more advanced markets like the US and UK.
A lot of similar situation with so many other, foreigners that are in Finland also. So some come here as relate to, finding love, and some also are just basically, on study basis. But so just going further with the situation we find ourselves now in Finland, and then of course all over the world. So recently you've seen all the issues relating to Black Lives Matters protests and the protests that's happening all over the world. So, and then of course, for us, people like us, living in Finland, from the several researches that is coming up about discrimination and race related issues here in Finland against the people of African descent. So that has also made me personally want to be involved in having this kind of discussions and making sure that we understand a little bit what's happening in Finland, and probably having the possibility to connect with the right platform and organizations to actually have these conversations, because we think we could not continue to just keep silent.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you, as an African American or Black American, living in Finland.
Yeah.
So how do you relate to that? As in, how do you relate to that? What has happened in the U.S. and then also your experiences here living in Finland?
Okay, that's a very loaded question, and allow me to compartmentalize
just go deep as much as you can.
First and foremost, let's establish a few realities. Racism exists, because for so long, with speaking with even people that I've been in relationships from different cultures, not that they're being mean or malicious, but sometimes they just don't see it because it doesn't allow them to see it because of who they are. So let's just get that on the table, that it is an issue. We are facing it. We are experiencing it. So it's just based on how we're dealing with it. Okay, so in the U.S., I can speak for myself. I grew up in a mixed society, blacks, whites, Latinos, Asian, whatever. When I was growing up in the U.S., it was more of classism versus racism. So if you're from a certain class, middle class, upper class, those are the boundaries. Now, of course, you have whites that are lower class, blacks lower class. But if you're in middle class, you're from the same educational perspective, you're living in the same area, same socioeconomic opportunities are allowed to you. So racism, I can just be honest, from my perspective, I didn't experience it too much in the U.S. because Chicago is it's in the Midwest. Of course, you have your southern states that are a little bit more carries values that are associated with the past in the South, because that's essentially where slavery started, in the southern United States. So of course they're a little bit different as opposed to Chicago, New York, California, a little bit more progressive in their thinking. So I never experienced it. So coming full circle, being here in Finland, and then seeing how quickly things have changed in the U.S. Of course, I go back and visit, but seeing how quickly things in the U.S. have changed is rather alarming. And it hasn't changed because there's more racism. It's changed because we have the access to film things and show the world what's actually going on. So these are realities that are being faced. Now, whereas in Finland, we've had many discussions about this. Of course, I've experienced some unfortunate situations, but by and large, things are okay for myself because I am an American. I have been able to work in business, to work in entertainment, to work in training, and to still be respected. But that's not goes to say that these issues aren't affecting people of color, because they are. Just a situation I want to just briefly touch on is my little girl is of mixed race. And one of her best friends is from Kenya, 7 years old. So I spent a lot of time with them and talking to them about race and how things are. And it really hurt me when the little girl told me that many kids in her class has told her they don't want to play with her because she's dark. Just 7 years old. So that has to come from somewhere. It's not coming from a 7-year-old.
No, not at all.
So what we can do in society is speak about these things and have open dialogue and not use race as though it's some type of taboo subject that doesn't need to be addressed, because complacency breeds contempt.
Yep.
So it's good to talk about these things. Every kitchen table in Finland, people should be talking about race, talking about how do we get here and how can we get better.
Wow, that's really something that, that scares me as a father too. Makes this kind of conversation, so useful and important, because I think the best way to actually go around this issue is to actually start the conversation.
Yeah.
And I'm very confident that, and I'm very hopeful that as soon as, we begin to, share and, express our opinions and speak our minds, the right authorities and and the people like actually that can, or the policymakers, you know, were able to pick this things up and try to make the change that we want to see.
Exactly.
You know, so going forward, how do you think that, you know, with all these experiences that we're having now, and most especially, and very, very disturbing, from, you know, 7 years old kids, right? How do you think we're going to, like, you know, come out of this, you know, to the better side?
First is what we're doing now, opening up dialogue. Also bringing other people that doesn't look like us to the table. Because we've been speaking on this for forever. Dr. Martin Luther King marched for these exact things, rights. He was murdered. You know, doing the right thing, sadly. Marching peacefully, and then they tell you that you shouldn't riot. Well, we've marched peacefully, and the leaders of those organizations have been murdered, you know. So what would you like us to do? And this is referring to the U.S. But particularly here in Finland, what can be done is just having the open dialogue, not being afraid of the subject, because so many people are afraid and not wanting to talk about it. And secondly, do something about it. When you see something, do something. You see someone being harassed, do something about it, not just sit there and act like it doesn't exist, because guess what? That's going to keep happening and keep happening and keep happening. And I don't know if it's a culture thing, but I think people are a little bit more reserved here regarding acting on things, because we've all seen these things happen. We all travel in the metro. We're all in stores. We all see these instances. And the one thing that you can do as a Finn, if you're experiencing this type of behavior, speak up about it. Say, hey, this is wrong, man. That's another person, just like you are. Would you like to be disrespected or treated differently or afforded opportunities because of your skin color? Well, neither does this person. So speak up about it. And there are some people that are out there. I've seen it. I've seen instances where I spoke up for people and other people came to the table and, you know, say, hey, man, this is wrong. So I think it starts with there, not allowing this behavior to perpetuate. Because if you don't say anything over time, imagine all these situations where someone can step up and say, hey, this is wrong, and don't. And just simply don't. And then expect for it just to go away. No. People are experiencing this. People of color are experiencing this here. The Roma community has experienced this since the beginning of time here. You know, so let's talk about it. Let's try to make it better. Let's put it on the table and let's be adults about it. You know, because kitchen tables should be talked about this. We should be talking about race. We should be talking about things that are affecting our kids, because when my daughter's friend told me that, I never cry. And a tear came to my eye, man. I'm like, this is a 7-year-old beautiful kid. And if she's going through that, what are the other kids going through? You know,
that's sad.
Very sad. So it just takes dialogue, man. It doesn't hurt to speak about things and to get things out in the open. You know, why do you feel this way? How can we get better?
Well, if you think about, you know, the issue of race as it relates to employment and job opportunity and that sort of thing, which is a big thing.
Yeah, very big thing.
For me personally, you know, we have all the statistics and the research and all this things showing, you know, the result pointing to one specific direction, which is, you know, what we're experiencing and what we're speaking about today. For me, I personally, you know, starting off this sort of platform, this sort of conversation, some people have reached out to me and saying like, hey, we thought like, okay, why are you having this kind of conversation? Why do you think this is important? Now we know you to be this and this and this and this. I said, well, you're right. For anyone that have knew me, they knew me to be very, very disciplined, hardworking, and kind-minded person, right? And I also like to, you know, stand up for myself and then stand up for against people for whenever I see any sort of oppression or anything. So for the previous video that I put out there, making, sort of trying to reach out to the larger audience of Finland to actually understand that we are hurting, right? Nothing there is actually out of my character. Nothing there that is out of my character. The one thing that I want them to understand is that, it's also my own job to say, to call things out where I see them, because I know a lot of people like me here, the Africans, they're suffering. They don't even see way out. Right. So of course there are these minor, different issues of calling people the N-word, saying so many, being disrespectful and all that kind of thing. But the thing that I am really, really passionate about, right, is the employment. How it affects us.
Of course.
Right? Of course, the issue which you raised earlier regarding to the kids. But I want you to touch a little bit about how do you see intentional diversity in Finland work? Like, how can it be better? Like, how do you see that? What's your take on that? So intentional diversity, where, where we're able to kind of crack a little bit the mentality of companies and making sure that, that it reflects some sort of diversity and people can move forward and grow career-wise and so on.
Well, if you force anything, you're not going to get the ideal results. So if there's laws that go into place that say, hey, you need to have this amount of foreign people in your employment, and then you just try to reach that number, that's not organic. That's just, you're a number, here you go. I think the way that we can do this organically is recognize that first and foremost, we're all people. And with we all have different skills to bring to the table. We're all representative of ourselves. And how I define racism is not, if a white person looks at me and like, oh, I don't want to sit next to that guy or whatever. That's just prejudice. And that exists. But racism is when you have that along with economic restraints. So difficulty with finding work, difficulty to access to education, healthcare, etc. That's racism, because not only is it the act of not acknowledging you as a person, but it's also having the ability to control you economically and from climbing. So how to get better at that here is just to, I think in the US, there's a sense of pride that can be associated with being a person of color. We have classes, we know our history, we know what we've been through, and we know where we are. But here I don't see any type of collectiveness regarding the people of different cultures, right? Because I think people are just so conditioned to fit in, right? And always seeking that admiration or affirmation to fit in. So they're ignoring their culture. And in the process of ignoring that culture, they don't know who they are. So they can't be confident. They can't go to meetings and look people in the eye, shake their hands, stand on their qualifications, because they don't know who they are. They're a little bit afraid. So I think that's a main difference. Whereas, I'm a man of color. I'm proud of it. That's who I am. Period, point blank, end of the discussion. So if I qualify for the job, let me show you. But if I don't, I don't. So I think that self-assurance, that self-confidence helps myself personally when I'm in these situations in business world, navigating through those waters, because every place that I've worked at, I've been the only person of color there. And I even heard a colleague at the gathering that we had was telling me that she's afraid to have a video call with clients. And she's a project manager. She's an accomplished person. And she doesn't want to have a video call because she's afraid of what that other person may think of her once they find out she's a person of color. And these are problems, So I think first and foremost, man, just to try to have an organic, diverse reality. Because when you have more diversity, when you have people around each other more, there's no need for racism, because we all recognize that we're all people. You know, that's the beauty kind of about growing up in the U.S. is there's so many different people, so you get to accept people.
Sure.
You know, it's not like, you know, you sit next to a bus and someone, they're like, okay, what are you doing here? You know, like they may not say that, but they're giving you that look, like, what are you doing here, you know? Or you've been living in your apartment for 4 years and you see someone every day and they're still looking at you like you're an alien. Like, no, we're neighbors. Hello, how are you? You know, so having diversity, having kids around diversity enables adults to think in a mindset that's not singular, more worldly, you know. So I think those type of things would help in employment, because the kids that are right now that are doing those things that I mentioned to the little girl, 20 years from now, they're going to be CEOs of companies or HR people in companies. So we need to start now. We need to have kids exposed to more diversity. The kids in Finland need to learn more about other cultures and not just how to do well in the test. Because that's not education. That's retaining information quickly and regurgitating it out. That doesn't mean you're smart.
Wow.
You know.
With that, I think, I don't know if you mentioned, how long have you been in Finland?
I've been in Finland for about 9 years.
9 years, right? Yeah. Okay, good. So,
yeah, man.
Yeah, in that way, what's your biggest misconception about Finland? At least you have your own opinion and you've seen a lot of things, like, so it'd be good to know, like, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, well, misconception.
Yeah, misconception,
okay.
About Finland.
Well, before I came to Finland, I was really excited about seeing this this Northern Lights.
Yeah.
And this is on a more comedic side. I was excited about seeing the Northern Lights, and I still haven't seen it. So I don't know if it's actually something out there that happens, or is it a myth? So that was my misconception. I thought that, you know, in the wintertime, you just look up and you see green and pink sky, and it's not the reality. So that was my personal misconception. But all in all, with Finland, Finland is a great place, I think. I don't want the angle of this meeting to seem as though we're bashing.
Yeah.
But these type of discussions need to happen, and they need to happen right now. And we need to bring the right people to the table to have these discussions. It just can't be you and I. Because although we're powerful in our speech, but we can't initiate change. We need to have our white brothers here with us talking about these things and making things better. But Finland is a great place, man. It's safe, good educational system, very peaceful. People are to the point, which is good. But just like here, within any other place, there is room for betterment. And we should always be seeking betterment and listening to those people that are vulnerable and that are disenfranchised. And they exist here.
Excellent, excellent. You know, with that, I just like the way, you know, you're laying this things out for our, you know, audience to see, and hopefully they're kind of they're able to process this and pick things that will work for them.
Of course.
You know, for my sort of view of things, I also feel, or you know, considering the kind of, you know, relationships that I've had in terms of with my African friends and the ones that have, you know, eventually left Finland, saying that, okay, it just, this is a place I think that wouldn't work for me.
Yeah.
And for some of them that have stayed, that are also like really, really bitter and very, very angry about everything, and don't even seem to engage in any way of shape or form.
Yeah.
They just like, okay, I'm just, you know, they literally, you know,
at a standstill.
Yeah. Like, so, but I think, this is my own opinion, that to some of them as well, they lack that motivation to even engage. Yeah. And that doesn't mean that they're happy. So in a way they are, you know, in a little bit stuck, right? Yeah. So what would be your message to this kind of people in Finland?
That's tough, because the drive and the willpower, those things are things that you can't pick up a book and learn. Like willpower, desire, wanting to be successful, having the drive to be successful, having the habits in your life that allows you to be successful, having structure, having priorities, having a schedule. Those things, you know, you can't just learn, you know, and it's just unfortunate that if people don't possess those skills, it's really tough to deal with difficult situations. So I would say having some type of support group, you know, where people in those situations can go to someone and speak to and offer them an alternative to looking at the situation. Because, you know, growing up where I grew up in the U.S., my parents taught me about that this world is going to be a little bit more difficult for you. It is. You're a black man. It's going to be difficult, more difficult. So you have to work harder. And that's okay. But you have to work harder. These are the realities. You have to face those, and then you have to live your life accordingly. So if you don't have that structure in your life, when you're faced with difficulty, whether it's finding a job, fitting in, all those factors, you kind of quiver up and want to get in the corner and stay there. So I think having a support system where guys like myself and you and others that are professionals, that are doing the right things, that have the willpower and have the mindset to succeed, to have some type of service to where we can help those brothers and sisters out. And not just brothers and sisters, because that's just anyone that's in a rut can use some type of extra push. You know, not everyone can wake up at 6 a.m., go to the gym, train for 45 minutes, get ready for work, do your work for 8 hours, have your daughter, practice, do all that. Not everyone is geared that way. Everyone is different, you know. So the people that don't have that willpower to live that structured life and to succeed even though things are tough, needs a helping hand, man. And having organizations that have people in business and finance and different walks of life that can offer a helping hand to those people that are struggling should be explored a little often. Not a psychologist, you know, not medicine, you know, just, hey, man, we're here for you. You're not alone.
Sure. Wow, that's powerful, man.
Yeah, man.
That's really powerful. So as we wrap up this conversation, right? If you could just list in the order of importance, like how, or if I would say, like, what would be the most important changes that you want to see in Finland in the order of importance? If you just take the first one, like the top priority for you, what you would like change in this country, at least for us?
Change. I would say just associating humanity with people. You know, so often, like, you know, it's just a black guy, or, you know, look at that N-word, or look at that, you know. So that takes humanity out of the equation, because now we are a thing, an object, like a glass. You are a blank word. So we're like, people are people, man, and I don't know what happened 500, 600, maybe 1,000 years ago, where someone said that because your skin is of a lighter shade, you have more intelligence, you're more respectable, you're more less inclined to commit crimes. All those things are false, man. Let's just get the BS and just stop living in that manner. It's 2020. We can travel to the moon. We can see distant planets. You know, we should be more intelligent enough to say that because your skin is lighter, it doesn't make you any better. So if we start there, you know, that can alleviate all the things that we're going through, because it's all based off of that, you know. It's all based off of how these people are. You're those people. You know, no, I'm a person. And I think the worst thing is living in people's imagination, you know, because a lot of people have preconceived notions, and we all do. But what we're speaking about is race. A lot of people have preconceived notions about who we are, and it's all in their imagination. It's never the person that they're facing. So if I'm facing a difficult situation with racism, that person is reacting to me based off of an imagination that they have of me, not who I am in front of them, because who I am in front of them is a respectable man. I'm a father.
Yeah.
You know, that little girl just lights up, you know, the moment she sees me. So I'm a person, you know, so we're all people. So I think if people just, the golden rule, you know, it's simple. Treat people like you want to be treated.
Exactly.
And then all of this stuff will be over. It's just amazing that we can't get this right. Treat people like you want to be treated. That's it. Would you want to be treated this way? No. Then don't treat people that way. You know, so that would be my basic thing, man.
Definitely. It's really a privilege and honor to actually, you know, get to sit down with you to, you know, get these important discussions going.
Yes, brother. Yes.
I appreciate it a lot, and hopefully we can get this going more time. And I'm really happy to have you, my friend. Thanks a lot.
Anytime.
Thanks. And for our audience, thanks for watching, and thanks for all your love and your. Just keep sending in your questions, and just make sure to follow, and definitely we'll get to a better place. Thank you.